is October 5th, 2011.
Yeah.
My name is Jeremy, and I'll be interviewing you today.
Okay. Jeremy?
Yes, Jeremy.
Okay, Jeremy.
And the first thing I wanted to ask is, did you have any thoughts?
Remember, I have a hearing problem. You gotta talk louder.
Did you have any thoughts about after the interview last time that you wanted to mention?
Well, as I said, my thoughts were that I talk too much, and I think in all these interviews I talk too much. And you're just doing an interview, and really what I want to hear is I want to hear your opinion. And it doesn't have to be here. If you, any day between Mondays and Wednesdays, as long as they don't ticket me that stupid place. I used to actually have some dates and reporting back why it was a lousy date. I don't want to see the guy again.
We'll definitely get to that in the interview.
All right, go ahead.
Let's go. Okay, right?
Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to say that absolutely anything you have to say is precious to us.
No, you see, I'm like any good lover. I know how to drive. I'm pretty bad at parking. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask, is there any notable event that occurred within the first year or two when you came to the United States?
Notable events that happened after we came to the United States?
Within the first year or two?
Yeah. Well, the notable events are part of, I was a kid. I went to school here. Still talk with a bit of an accent.
What was the name of the school you went to?
So that's citizenship, we'll get to it. But in many, many ways, I consider myself an American. What I don't accept in society today is not because of my background as far as being in the Holocaust, but because of my own religious beliefs and maybe age. We all get more conservative as we get older. So, but, let's very quickly give you a thing. I went to a school called Torres Emes. I went there purely accidentally. Because I was going to go to public school. I hadn't started school yet. This was the first Sabbath in the United States. And this particular gentleman and his son, who became one of my really best friends growing up, I think he's passed, we lost touch a long time ago, was in the synagogue. And they normally were never in that synagogue. I never saw the father there again, and I saw the son only once. And I'm talking there in about a 13-year period. Or close to it, maybe a 10-year period. And they lived around the corner from us, so we were close to them. And I knew so little English. At that time, the kippahs were made out of red and white, and in the blue it says, "God bless America." I had no idea what that meant. So I figured this was his first name was God, from the Hebrew word God. It's one of the sons of James. Bless is his last name, and he lives in America. But they talked, and he convinced my father not to send me to public school, but to start in this yeshiva day school, really. I started in the second grade. That was 2A and 2B. I started in 2B. I was behind. Should have been in 3B. But I skipped a few times. I got out in the proper time. And from there, I stayed in high school because I liked a biology teacher. He was a science teacher. We didn't have a bio lab. He taught bio outside the lab. And then we didn't have a charter. So the last year you had to go either to different Hebrew school, yeshiva, high school, or what we did is we went to summer school and then we took 2 courses at night, and I actually graduated from New Uta High School, which is a high school in New York, in Brooklyn. Close to where we lived on the Utrecht Avenue, but I take a subway, it wasn't much. And thinking about it, me already studied Hebrew, religious studies from 8:45 till about 1:30, and then we came back for second session till about 5:30. But then the teacher got a job in the Mir Yeshiva, which is that school that survived in Shanghai, and it's a separate story, it's not for now. It's something worth studying. And that, in the time we reached it, was the Harvard and Princeton of Jewish education. It was a tough school. It didn't last in the top that long, because people of the older generation, older being middle-aged people who had gone through the war in Shanghai, had to find jobs, took teaching positions and so on. Some opened up businesses, and some went to Israel, where there's down Mir Yeshiva in Israel, and it's a very small school, with about between 7,000 and 10,000 students. And for a Hebrew school, that's a lot. And actually one of my grandchildren was there for a while. But I got started there, and when I finished high school, I started college. First semester, I went in the afternoon, because there was all types of mix-ups. I never wanted to go in the afternoon. Then I switched to the evening, and I stayed the whole day. And that was basically the way I did it. Once I finished, and it took me about 5 years.
Where did you go to college?
Brooklyn College.
Brooklyn College.
Oh yeah, that was free. I mean, I was able to buy, think about what you spend on books. The books for the semester for about $30.
Wow.
And sometimes I overspend when I spend that much. And when I finished,
What did you
I
study?
remember the last psychology. I wanted to be a biologist. I told you like that teacher loved him. And he really turned me on, and I didn't. I realized very early that bio and I on a college level were not friends. So I switched to poli-sci, and I didn't want to be a lawyer, but it looked like a good subject. And everything was good till I took my first psych course. Then I got to the point where the guidance department wrote me a polite little note saying you may not take any more psychology courses. Just more into school than psychology. It's the only thing I do for a while. And so I took those. And I remember the last semester, didn't get finals in Brooklyn College. Before computers, they couldn't get them in. They hadn't ever graduated. So someone convinced me to take, I'll never forget that, to take this easy course with them in economics. He flunked the test. I didn't do much better. The first one. And then, of course, I still remember that night, because the remark had been earlier, she wouldn't let me go off without a test. So she gave me a final. And I did okay. I got about 4 or 5 all questions I answered. walked out, took the bus to the yeshiva, studied the whole night, and had my first exam on coordination the next morning at 5 a.m. I mean, and then I didn't go to grad school. I think it was for a year, because I wanted to get ordination in.
What did you do during that?
And then I went to Columbia, teachers, and I took courses in counseling. And in the middle of that, met my wife, got engaged.
Where did you meet her?
Where did I meet her? Well, I was teaching part-time in an afternoon school, and my brother-in-law, blessed memory, was his nephew's marriage. And he was in New York one day. He had a job in Washington already. He was in law there for over 50 years. This was in the beginning, and he asked, "Do you know anybody for my sister?" And he said no, and he came home and he said, "What do you mean, you got to teach her?" Set him up, and it clicked very quickly. And so that's how I met my wife. She was from Cleveland, I was from Brooklyn, we met in Queens. And then I needed a job, so I went to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. I stayed for 1 year. I wanted to stay for 1 year, I stayed for 24. And I was happy to start as a teacher, very wet behind the ears, ended up principal. In the middle of that, the local college needed a college instructor at night, so I taught intro psychology, learning theory, taught a few courses.
Where were you living at this time?
In Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. I mean, those 24 years, we moved along, apartments, bought a house in Kingston, which is like over it's all the same. And then they wanted to give me a lifetime contract with certain stipulations. It was attractive, but I knew that it was going to be hell.
What was?
Oh, it was a lifetime contract, but not as a principal anymore. They wanted to give me jobs. This wasn't good.
Job doing what?
And so I got a job as a principal in Annapolis, which lasted for 1 year. Then I went for 4 or 5 years to the Board of Jewish Education of Further Washington. And then I found a job in something called Jewish College Services out of the JCC. And I stayed in the various schools, mostly at Hopkins, Goucher, UMBC, Towson, 17 years. And then near the end, when we knew that there would be a parting of the way Hitler had taken over, and they had a different view of what Jewish college students needed compared to what my view was. And
how did their view differ from yours? How did their view differ from yours?
That's politics. I don't want to get into it. It's politics that has to do with religion, it has to do with a lot of things. And then someone needed, so I was working part-time, less and less hours. And there was a need to help out at Sinai Hospital at that time, because my academics, the boss, was busy in one of the wards. It was it's a golf war, whatever it was, at about 203. And he was over there as a chaplain. He's now a colonel, then he was a major, I think. 10 colonel, whatever he is. Right now he's on, for the holidays, he's still in reserve. They shipped him to Korea. He'll be back by the end of the beginning of next week. And our city's trying to figure out what to do, and lo and behold, the pay wasn't great. I had retired. I was getting some Social Security, still do. And
Right.
okay. No, yeah, I was looking at these two girls, and it hit me. Their knowledge of the Holocaust makes you guys intellectual and very knowledgeable about the Holocaust. They know, you would say, well, okay, they're Jews, they go out. Even if their parents are not Holocaust survivors and their grandparents are gone. To them it's just a history lesson. I mean, they know something terrible happened to their people. That's it. The emotions are the thing. I may be wrong. But, and to a certain extent, I'm happy about that because I don't like a religion based on sadness and destruction. Religion should be based on joy. I'm all for that. I think we worship to a certain extent the Holocaust. And we think that remembering the Holocaust is going to keep Jews together. It doesn't. Taking a visit to Israel keeps you together. All the studies that psychologists have done, the sociologists who have science have done these studies. That's what they come up with. There's nothing like our visit. Well, that's living. That's living Jews. They're not all religious, but that's a living country. You can only go to cemeteries so much.
What do you mean the boards don't go over Yom Kippur? Everyone wants to.
It doesn't keep you together. I don't think so. I don't think it makes you know that there's people who went through it, people who are saved, people. Yeah.
I mean, not all Yom Kippur,
Yeah.
but.
Some are more religious, some are less religious, but that's it. It is not a lesson that, in my opinion, is going to have a lasting effect. This is a movie,
Oh my God, I have a ride for you. My
a
nephew
documentary.
picked me up to go to the
I don't know if
cemetery
you've seen
in
it,
New
the
York,
other thing's different.
in Washington.
A
For Sunday.
non-Jewish,
Sunday come.
He came to
a
deliver the
public
package
school
to you,
someplace
Hamer.
in the United
But
States.
when he says he's
Little
leaving,
West.
it's Pinkla. I got you a ride. How do you like that? Guys, I want you to have a piece of honey cake.
Oh, thank you very much.
It's a little heavy.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Take.
Yeah, you gotta eat all that because I'm not gonna have.
And then take. Now, you can some to take that, it's very good.
Oh, it's delicious.
Wonderful.
You can have more.
I will.
1 minute.
So anyway,
Thank you. This is
they started collecting paper clips
50.
and 6 million.
How lovely it is.
6 million. And you see this tax.
Because his voice
And you
is
see
much
also
clearer.
people who send in
Here you go.
Thank you so much.
survivors, who send in clips with stories, what they represented.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just to teach what the number 6 million looks like. See, that's another thing. We live in a time of
Would you like a drink? You guys want a drink?
I mean, the law players are making more than $6 million a year. $20 million a year. So
What time do you leave?
the numbers mean nothing anymore in our time. But at the time when the president of the United States made $80,000,
No, I meant in the morning for me.
and no law player made that
Yeah,
much.
well, if you want this ride, you're gonna have to go.
You guys will wait,
6
so let's
million
wait
times
for other
something.
people.
It doesn't mean much.
I'd rather go home much later.
And it's because of that that we have changed.
Why?
He has to be on time, he has to make it to the.
It means so little.
Oh, that's why, so, okay, I'm gonna try to find another ride.
You have to
No.
see it. You see, that's 6 million upright. That's 6 million in. That's an awful lot of pennies. They built a house, more than a shed, I think a house, just to put them all in.
If you could tell a story or just a message that you want people in the future watching this interview to have, what would it be?
Message? I don't know. Let me think. So, I think the one thing is that
Shouldn't have given him the food, now he
you
can't.
cannot believe
What did you say now?
that intellectualism and education will save you from a Holocaust. I'm not talking about the victim, I'm talking about the perpetrators. Because of all the countries in Europe, Germany was the most cultured of all countries. And yet, at a time when things went wrong, the loss of the war, a tremendous recession. I mean, I remember playing with millions of marks that had no value. Just printed money, meant nothing. And the emotions take over. And if you have a leader and you do not track,
She didn't show up until.
and you never know.
She's been here.
Did you guys ever hear of the Milgram experiments?
Yeah.
There you have it. Now, because the Milgram experiments were done to prove that the Holocaust couldn't happen in the United States. They didn't prove that, did they? And I know there are all types of reasonings why, after all, this couldn't happen. A lot of it, what we do see is that there are certain people, not all, but there are certain people that take orders.
For the sake of the interview, could you tell us a little bit about the Milgram experiments?
Huh?
For the sake of the interview, could you tell us a little bit about the Milgram
Well, the
experiments?
Milgram experiment basically
No. Everything was delicious.
was an experiment set up at one level, maybe a different level. It was set up as a learning experience. And you had two people,
But I don't have the current DVD.
and one would be the teacher, the other would be the student.
You'll
Every
learn.
time the student made mistakes, he got
You'll
shocked.
learn how to do.
And the shock when, and they had a machine in front of them, and the shock that after a while, it's one of the most dangerous, could cause permanent damage, could cause loss of life, whatever that is. And of course, the experiment wasn't a learning, because the student was one of the experimenters. He was, and so it really was how far would the teacher go in shocking. And the student made mistakes, and then he had to shock him, and then it got to the point when the guy was passed out. Now the machine was a complete dud. I mean, he wasn't shocked. He was a good actor. And the end result was that most of the people kept on shocking even though he was passed out and he really couldn't answer anymore.
Oh, no, no, not at all. You're
A
fine.
few people walked out. And this was all based on the some of the Horney's work, that is a certain type of a personality that was present in Germany that could never happen in the United States, and it did happen. It did happen. There's also, starts with a Z. It's not November, but something like that, in Stanford University, the prison experiment. By pure chance, some people were prisoners, some people became guards. And you saw how quickly these people who were alike, who were friends sometimes, became completely ruthless in shocking and harming the prisoners. It got to the point where they actually called the experiment off early. They couldn't take, the experimenters couldn't take anymore what they saw happening to their students. So we see that if you have a demagogue, who knows what can happen? I'm not going to go to the Bible. You can make stories in the Bible like that too. But demagoguery really changed the world.
You want more?
And
You want more?
Thank you.
I think that's the one thing that we have to realize that A, it can happen again. I'm convinced of that. B, God willing, it will never happen again. C, we must always be on our guard. The freedom that we have, the education that we have, must be closely and zealously guarded. Because I do believe that there is a possibility, and I'm not here to evaluate the United States of today and the Germany of then, but culture and spirituality, and the amount of spirituality in the culture are different, and we need spirituality. I don't call it religion, I call it spirituality.
So, if that makes Katz doesn't matter, so.
A certain feeling of, and most important, and this they did in the prison experiment, they did that in Germany. And I think they do it in prison.
If they go,
Well, very interesting.
They weren't from New York, listen.
I was teaching psychology
One of
and
them has a sister in New York.
for 1
The
year,
other, I don't know what.
yeah, I think it was 2 semesters,
One was from
I
Detroit.
taught in a prison. I figured in Baltimore, Pennsylvania, how big can a prison be? 10 people, 20 people? There were over 900. It was one of those things like the Rikers Island things. It was built with 600, 700, there were 900. It was a tremendous prison. And, you know, I have to take them well. And they don't even give me their names, they give me their numbers. I said, no, I'll let your name. And of course they gave them to me. But I think that's one of the problems. That if you're a name, you're somebody. If you're a number, you're nobody. Or you can escape from the situation by not giving it.
I already told him.
And so, I think they did that in the Holocaust, they did that in the experiments. You became a number. And it's no good. I mean, even now, and I know it's different because we live in the society, I had to make an appointment with a doctor yesterday. And she got my name. And then she just started reading off the information. She knew where to get it, and all the numbers were in there, my social security number was
Where'd
in
you
there.
pick it up from? The hospital.
They had it. The only thing is they didn't realize I was working at the hospital. They said I was still working for Hillel of Greater Baltimore. But they had all that. And I think there's a danger there. That we are too number countries. And what numbers do is they take away individuality. You're you. You're a person. And that, I think, is the most important lesson. To always remember that you are a human being and you're a son and a daughter, and you are spirituality, a son and a daughter. And there's a connection to a Father in heaven. And that I think is important. I think that who knows? How things are, how things are educated. We know that, you see, and I think I told you that once before, but I'll emphasize it as an important lesson. You're studying the Holocaust, but it's the Holocaust. To the Orthodox, to the religious Jew, to a historical Jew, even if you're not, it is just part of Jewish life throughout the ages. I admit there was never anything like the Holocaust in pure numbers, in inhumanity. But it's just a continuum. It's a continuum that you really want to study what is going on and what drives people to pick on to that which they don't understand. I mean, we do the same thing to the African community, in a different sense. I'm not one of those person who believes that the Holocaust should be used indiscriminately. But in this sense, we do the same thing. As long as we don't know names, we just know numbers, you can discriminate. Once you know who the person is, it's a lot harder. And that, I think, is one of the things that I think Lewin was one of the early social psychologists tried to teach. It didn't always work out, but the importance of seeing people as individuals. And there's a lot of work, and I'm not going to, there's some work done by Cole on where he interviewed Afro-American children, and they were called Negro children, black children, many, many years ago. And what he was really interested in was how they viewed themselves. He made them draw pictures. And he got interesting results. And a little Afro-American kid who drew two sides of a load, the Afro-American side, the white side, with a red light. You cannot cross the road if you're the Afro-American. And this is it. And these were little kids. These were kids 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 at the oldest. And we already see that the society has forged a value system upon them, which it's very difficult for them to get out of. And I'm not one of those people who says, therefore they can do anything because they had a terrible childhood. We've all had terrible childhoods. We've all had good childhoods. But we must realize that the way we treat other human beings does leave an indelible image in the mind. and it's an emotional image. I mean, from the very first one, I think you were the one doing the questioning the first time we got together. And I thought you were being very silly, but in one sense you're very enlightened. It is important with the toys you play with. It is important how you grow up. Because those are the images. And now, in my very late 70s, they're still there. And the images of this Afro-American kid of the 40s, and if he's still alive, but they were there. They didn't change just because you decided now blacks and whites can use the same bathroom. Those images do have an effect. And there is a point where it does break. And that's why when there isn't reason to lie, you get very bad lies. There's been hurt. And, but, so those are all the things. And the important lesson of the Holocaust is for us to realize how people can hurt other people. A second thing, which is not for now, and you guys have to do some research, there are some interesting studies of Holocaust survivors. And one of the interesting results are that those who went into business and went into certain professions achieved much more than what you would expect using statistical averages. And that gets back then, are they survivors because God has covered them? Because it's true, but it's also something that He created within them that now continues, or did continue them when they were free to become leading business people, leaders of schools. There was something in them driving them, an ability and so on. And so that's another question then. Who survived and what were some of the things that we know about them or we don't know about them? I mean, those are studies. There was a guy, I forgot his name, who he wrote a book called The Shiver, and then he worked on this. He was a sociologist, I know he's still alive, in City College in New York. Very, 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 very big man. And he did work on that. Now you want to ask about how to match up people? Here she is.
Huh? It's hard to describe it. You think you take a boy and a girl and you match them up. It doesn't go that way. How does it go? I get an idea in my head. I don't know. It just comes into my head. And it's like other people can do things and you don't know, like an artist. You don't know. So an idea came into my head. I gotta tell you a joke. You don't even know this. Boy told me he's going for Sukkot to Detroit. So I said, great. I said, I have a great girl for you there. So I called the sister last night, and he didn't know if he was going, but last night he called me back. So I called the sister. Now he never asked me the name. I wouldn't give it to him anymore yet. I called the sister and I said, what's doing with your sister? And she said, oh, she's quite available. So I said, well, this boy is coming in for Yontif, and maybe we could fix him up. So she says to me, what's his name? So I told her his name, and she said, she went out with him this summer. He had been in Detroit in the summer. He has a sister there, so somebody fixed him up. And they went out a few times. But the idea was there, and it had to be a good idea, because obviously they went out already, it just didn't work. That's the thing. Sometimes it works on paper, you think it's great. And then when they meet, for no reason, I mean, though, for the stupidest reasons. The same guy was going a girl 6 times, and I don't know what he wants. Sometimes these guys that are 27, 28, 29, I told them girls were not born yet. And at some point I call them career daters, because that's all they can't commit. That's all they want to do is see what's out there. I got one, he comes here all the time. Goes out with a girl every other day. Every week he has a different girl. So it hasn't worked for him yet. So it's all up there. He makes the matches. I only carry him through sometimes. I have a lot of success stories, but now I'm sort of getting a little burned out because it's such a different climate than it used to be years ago. Years ago, you gave the boys a name, they checked it out, finished, they went out. They didn't have their mothers and their fathers and their sisters and their friends. That's what I love. Oh, my friend went out with them, it's not for me. How do you know? How do you know it's not for you? There's only one person that knows, up there. So I give up. I gotta make 2 calls, 1 call tonight because the other guy has to figure it out if he wants to go out with this other girl. What can I do? It takes a lot of time and energy. And my husband told me to call this one guy that's divorced. I called him 2 nights ago. He still hasn't called me back. So what are you gonna do?
Well, he's a fool if he doesn't take her honest.
Well, first he's gotta call me
unbelievable.
back.
She's unbelievable.
Is there a name for what you do?
It's called Shadchanis. Shadchan. Shadchan. Don't tell me you're putting this in there. Matchmaker, that's what it is. Shadchan is a matchmaker. You know the song in Fiddler on the Roof, Matchmaker, Matchmaker? Make me a match. That's it. But I'm not as crazy as Yentl. I'm a little crazier. But she was way out. Who knows? She really went crazy. Sometimes we had a couple that just got married. They've been in our house, both of them, for the last 9-10 years. I would have never thought to put them together, and neither did anybody else in the community. Well, there's a site called Saw You at Sinai. So they went on the site and they matched them up. And then they started going together and everybody kept on saying, can't believe it. Nobody thought of putting them together. It wasn't in the right time. They were both young and they were both like, I don't know, couldn't commit. And now it was time for them. They made a commitment. And they're very happy, I think. It's just about 2 weeks. You know, so you never know. You never know. I got some good stories, but I don't have time to talk about them.
And you read a column? Is that what you said you...
There's a community digest called Where, What, and When.
Uh-huh.
It tells you everything. You know, it's like advertising.
Before you leave, I'll give you some more articles. I make copies of them.
Yeah,
I put them in a book because he says you got to save them. You have to remember from the last time.
Yeah,
Well,
because
last week
she's going to eventually contradict herself, and she better find out what she said.
Last week we're in the yeshiva in Silver Spring, and all of a sudden all these guys came to me and said, "We love your articles. We sit and read them. The minute it comes in and they put them in our apartment, we pick them up, we go analyze them, and we agree with you." I said, okay, so that was the topic of conversation. So that's it. It's very time consuming, which time I don't have anymore. I really don't. And I can't, you're eating supper soon, you know?
Why don't you put that next to me?
Yes, the kids. I'll give you some more to take along.
That was delicious.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
I'll
Thank
give
you
you
very
more. I'll
much.
give you more.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he'll show you the articles, and
Yeah, good.
I think that'll be
Super good.
Thank you very
I
much.
don't know how to do that.
I'm gonna